Oh, boy. Pensions in the state you may have heard of known as Illinois. If you ever see anything with the word pension in Illinois, matter of fact, you could even erase the word Illinois and just say pension. Anything with pension in the United States of America, and it's automatically going to equal trouble. But when you actually add in the word Illinois, it's devastating. Zero Hedge has an article here, naturally. Illinois budget deal. We got a budget deal, guys. Finally got a budget deal. Really? Great news. Budget deal is likely the death knell for the state's $130 billion underfunded pensions. Oh, so that's how you had a deal. Budget deal. And that's the sad truth. When you get rid of this monstrous unfunded Ponzi scheme known as a pension and stop sucking the taxpayer dry of their money, you might actually be able to recover. But how many of those state pension workers and whatever is public, oh, it's my money, and I was promised that money. I'm living off of it, and I've got a house, and I've got payments, and they're right. And now I'm being told, tough luck. Nobody said life. Bring Joe's sister over here. Tell these pensioners, Andrea. Nobody said life was fair. Wouldn't it be cool if she talked like that? Like, you know, Mama Fratelli from the Goonies. Nobody said life was fair. Follow them size 5s. Mama, you always liked them better than me. That's right. Bam. Last August, in a post that attempted to explain why public pensions are really about $8 trillion underfunded, as opposed to the $3 to $5 trillion that you frequently see tossed around in the press, we describe pensions in the following way. Defined benefit pension plans are, in many cases, a Ponzi scheme. Well, let me start that over again. I just had to yell at one of my kids an hour ago. I told you an hour ago to get to bed. You know, that old chestnut. Defined benefit pension plans are, in many cases, you got to call it what it is, a Ponzi scheme. And all I can think about, again, things come into my head and I got to say it. Could you imagine if somehow there was a pension fund out there, anywhere, on the face of the earth, that saw Bitcoin years ago and said, I like where this is going. We are going to dump at least some, not all, not even half, just some of the pension fund into Bitcoin and wherever this goes. And Litecoin came out, let's put some in there, etc. Ethereum, put some in there. And they just had the 3 main coins, let's say. Litecoin, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Do you know how massively here's a word you'll never hear, overfunded the pension would be, even though all the stock and garbage investment they were in were crap? Massive return, massive overvalued pension. But that's not the case. So let me continue. But unlike Wall Street and corporate Ponzi schemes, no one goes to jail here because the establishment is complicit. Everyone from government officials to union bosses are incentivized to maintain the status quo. Public employees get to sleep better at night thinking they have a retirement plan. Public legislators get to be reelected by union membership while pretending their states are solvent, and union bosses get to keep their jobs while hiding the truth from employees. And the union bosses get paid big money, and your politicians get paid big money, including their handouts, their payoffs, known as campaign contributions. So everybody wins except for the pensioner and the taxpayer. And the taxpayer is actually the pensioner and us, who aren't pensioners. So the taxpayer by itself, not a pensioner, but the pensioner is also a taxpayer. All of us are essentially paying for this. And then we find out, as always, oh yeah, by the way, here's the truth. And the pension boss, he already left. He's gone. Got his golden parachute. Left kind of a note on the counter. And it said something like, good luck. Your pension fund is insolvent. Have a nice day. Something along those lines. And while we weren't specifically writing about Illinois at that time, That state's recent budget deal perfectly mimics our point and illustrates precisely why America's underfunded pension Ponzi schemes continue to grow at alarming rates, despite going largely unnoticed by soaring equity markets, and will ultimately be the catalyst for a major correction in the U.S. So what are we talking about? As Bloomberg points out today, one of the ways that Illinois managed to fix its budget crisis was by simply kicking the can down the road on their future pension funding requirements, pensions which are already only 35% funded as it is. So how did they do it? Well, they simply decided to continue modeling future returns at a much higher rate than they'll ever be able to reasonably achieve. By leaving their discount rate at 7%, they managed to reduce the present value of future liabilities and thus reduce current funding requirements. In short, tweak one simple number, and like magic, your whole funding crisis disappears. We call that around here, Jason Up for Land, cooking the books. That spending plan, pushed through by lawmakers eager to keep Illinois' bond rating from being cut to complete junk, allows the state to sink deeper into the hole by giving it 5 years to phase in hundreds of millions of dollars in increased contributions to 4 of its 5 retirement plans. Those extra payments stem from the fund's decisions to roll back forecasts for what they expect to make on their investments, which means Illinois will need to set aside more money to ensure it can cover pension checks due in the decades ahead. The phase-in of the actuarial assumption is another exercise in kicking the can down the road, but we're not sure how far the can travels, said Dave Urbanek, spokesman for the Illinois Teachers Retirement System, the state's largest pension, which has about $73 billion of unfunded liabilities. You pay less now, pay more later, he said. After the stock market stumbled in 2015, Illinois' 4 pension systems for teachers, state workers, judges, and lawmakers all lowered their assumed investment rates of return, according to a March report from the Commission on Government Forecasting Accountability. That, along with other accounting charges or changes, added $9.67 billion to their unfunded liabilities, since they could no longer count on making as much on stocks, bonds, and other holdings. The teachers and state employees systems dropped their rates of return to 7%, while the plans for judges and while the plans for judges and General Assembly members cut their rates to 6.75%. All 4 had negative investment returns, by the way, in the 2016 budget year. According to the commission, the state university retirement system was the only one with positive returns, shockingly, eking out a gain of just 0.2%, and it needs to be around 8%, the report showed. Of course, as we recently pointed out, the silly fake math games only work so long as you have enough cash to prop up the Ponzi scheme. Remember, Madoff's Ponzi only came crumbling down when he could no longer raise enough money from the new investors to fund withdrawals from the redeeming investors. Unfortunately, at least for Illinois pensioners who think they have a retirement waiting for them, Illinois' Ponzi is about to run out of cash and meet the same fate as Madoff's Ponzi. For those who missed, below is a post in which we explained why Illinois' pensions could run out of money in as little as 4 years. Chicago's pension funds, along with several other large public pensions around the country, are in serious trouble. We recently discussed the destruction awaiting our financial markets here and the link our collapsing pensions about to bring hell to America. The problem is that the pending doom surrounding these massive public pension obligations often get clouded over by complicated actuarial math, with a plan's funded status heavily influenced by discount rates applied to future liability streams. Take Chicago's largest pension fund, the Municipal Employees Annuity and Benefit Fund of Chicago, as an example. Most people focus on a fund's net funded status, which for this one is a paltry 20.3%. But the problem with focusing on funded status is that it can be easily manipulated by pension administrators who get to simply pick the rate at which they discount future liabilities out of thin air. So rather than lend any credence to some made-up pension math, we prefer to discuss on actual pension cash flows, which can't be manipulated quite so easily. And a quick look at their cash flows quickly reveals the Ponzi-ish nature of the fund. In both 2015 as well as 2014, the fund didn't even come close to generating enough cash flow from investment returns and contributions to cover its $800 million in annual benefit payments, which basically means they're slowing liquidating assets to pay out liabilities. So, of course, like all Ponzi schemes, liquidating assets to pay current claims can only go on for so long before you simply run out of assets. So we decided to take a look at when Chicago's largest pension fund would likely run out of money. On the expense side, annual benefit payments are currently just over $800 million and are growing at a fairly consistent pace due to an increasing number of retirees and inflation adjustments guaranteed to workers. Assuming payouts continue to grow at the same pace observed over the last 15 years, the fund will be making annual cash payments to retirees around $1.3 billion by the year 2023. And if you want to look at this chart, which I think you should, I'm going to zoom in on this one. 2000, we're here in 2016, 17-ish, right? Well, we're in 2017. And you can see where it was just, 15, 16 years ago. 400 billion, 500 billion, 600, 700, 8, or millions, excuse me. And then we have the billions. And in just a few short years, it'll be out of control. 1.3 billion. That's what that chart's saying. So how is that sustainable? Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me how we're going to pay this off. Got my video you saw recently. Federal Reserve has 40% of the, $2 trillion, whatever the hell it is, sitting over there in their coffers from foreign banks that we basically gave the foreign banks essentially. Then they took the money, parked it back at the Federal Reserve, and now making interest off it that you and I have to pay. And the American banks, the big ones, are also doing the same thing. And all the national debt, which that is included, the interest payment, we have to pay, you and I. And we're also going to be told your property taxes are going up, driver's license fees going up, fishing license, this license going up, because we got to pay the pensioners. But they're going to come to a stark realization. Even doing that won't matter. They will never, ever, ever, they will never, ever, ever be able to tax us to death even to pay for the pension Ponzi scheme. They will never be able to have the funds for it, no matter what tricks they try. Which means it's going to implode anyways, and they know this. But if they could just squeak it out a little bit longer, I got retirement in 4 more years, man. If we could just squeak this out, I'll be out of here and I'll collect my pension, And I'll get my golden parachute. Investment returns, on the other hand, are much more volatile, but have averaged about 5.5% over the past 15 years. Again, needs to be about 8%. That said, the fund took big hits in 2002 and 2008, following the dot-com and housing bubble crashes. But just to keep it simple, let's assume that today's market is not a massive Fed-induced bubble, hint, hint, that it just might be, and that this fund we were just talking about is able to produce consistent 5.5%, which is their 15-year average now, returns every year in perpetuity. Even then, the fund will only generate roughly $500 million per year in income compared to benefit payments growing to, as I showed you, $1.3 billion. 500 coming in, million, 1.3 billion, and it probably might be worse than that. So let's call it 1.5 billion, which means 500 million times 2 times 3, 1.5 billion. 3 times the amount. 500 coming in, 1.5 in this case, 1.3 going out. As I said, and I will continue to say probably as long as I'm alive and doing videos like this. If you're in a pension in any way, shape, or form, and you ever get a letter, whatever, hey, pension fund, we'd like to settle and give you a lump sum payment early. and you look at it and say, they want to take 50% of my pension? Are you kidding me? I'm not accepting that. Listen to me very carefully. You call them and thank them. I want to thank you. Hello, this is Johnny Smith calling about my pension. Got the letter. You want to settle for half? Yes, we do. We're sorry about that. No, it's okay. Where do I sign? How fast can we get this done? Give it to me now. Hey, Jay Snip, got my pension money. What should I do with it? Get you some precious metals. Always got to have your real big, your safe stash, precious metals, and get into the crypto game. And that whole 50% loss you're talking about, don't sweat it. Don't even sweat it. If you play your cryptos right, you'll make some fantastic returns. But you got to have the foundation of wealth preservation, rainy day fund, and that's where precious metals comes in. And I want to mention a deal you can get at sdbullion.com. You can get a 10-ounce silver bar at spot price. In the link in my description box of all my videos at the bottom, towards the bottom, there's a link to sdbullion.com/jsnip4. It will take you there, new customers only. But wouldn't hurt to try to get your thing anyways, but your discount. But if you've already gotten one, they're going to see it. They're going to know. But nonetheless, you can get a 10-ounce silver bar, the Proclaim Liberty silver bar, at spot price, plus basic shipping, which is typical. Unbelievable deal. And as I always say, those of you out there making some cash in the cryptos, don't forget about metals. They'll be let loose one day. And you might ride those up. You're going to think, oh my God, this is like, think of Ethereum, right? Back in January, it was $20, man. Oh my God, it's 200 today. Man, I wish I'd threw all my stuff into that back then, right? We're all saying that. And what about when it's 300 Ethereum like it was recently? And 400 even it hit. Oh my goodness, right? So if we see that kind of thing happen with metals, and you played your cards right with these cryptos, flipped that one to that one, made some money there. Oh, I got several $1,000s to play with now. I want to buy some silver with that. Plus, I still got these cryptos over here. That'll be one of the most epic plays. That's what I plan on doing. But you got to have metals to do that at some point, right? So if you're getting some good crypto profit, I'm just telling you, I know what I'd be doing. I don't need to do it because I've met my goal time and time again with silver. But I'm telling you, if I didn't have silver right now, oh boy. Prices we've seen recently, oh my goodness. Would I be loading the freaking boat? So anyways, if you're interested in getting silver, and again, everybody should have some, in my opinion. sdbullion.com/jsnip4. You'll see the link in the description. It's always there. So anyways, pensions, another story, same story, different day. They're all underfunded. There's not going to be a sound pension on the face of the earth, most likely, especially in America. No matter what you hear, no matter what they say. Why? Because they can tweak a number and tell you, no, we're fine, we're funded. You mean you're funded as long as we get those returns at that percentage rate? Yes. And you need 8%, right? Yes. What's the last 15 years been? 5.5%. So you're massively underfunded at this point. Well, what? Well, yes. Yes, we are. That's the answer. Boy, am I glad I don't have to deal with that crap. I don't have no stupid 401k, pension. Oh, I want to get on my 401k. Sorry, you got a job? Yeah, I do. You don't meet the requirements to get out of your 401k early, even with the 10% nail you fee. You're going to charge me 10% for me allowing you this entire time to take my hard-earned money that I've been giving you all these years, right? If I had a 401k, and those of you who do know what I'm talking about. I've allowed you to make enormous fees over the years on my money. And you guys have been living like hotshots, these big funds, Fidelity, and you're going to hit me with 10% additional because I got to take out early my money? That's right. It's the way it was written. That's the law. We got to follow the law. So what can you do if you're in one? You want to get out? And you can't. Borrow the maximum amount you're allowed to borrow against it. You got a 401k? And you want to get into the crypto game right now? Let me tell you something. What would you do, JSnip, for if it was you? If it were me, and I had a 401k, I know I wouldn't be able to take it out because they'd tell me, sorry, you got a job, you're not taking it out. And you're not even 40 years old yet, but you're going to be. You got a long way to go. You're not touching it. Actually, yes, I am. Give me the maximum amount that I want to get a loan off my own 401k, which you got to pay back at interest, but it goes back to you as interest. cryptos, some silver, whatever. Cryptos, we put some of that 401k money in there. Ba-boom. Imagine taking half of the 401k money, doubling it in cryptos, which we've already seen people 10 times, 20 times returns. I'm just saying, imagine doubling it, 2-time return. Hey, 401k, let me go ahead and put the money back into it now in full. Here's it back. The 50% I took out, it's back now. And I still got the other 50% in profit in the crypto game. Have a nice day. Of course, you may not want to put it back in that rotten 401k because if the market crashes again, you just got screwed over. So you're probably better off just hanging on to it and dumping it in the freaking cryptos. I am done talking on this video. Take care.